Hello, everyone. So today we have a student who's going to be an incoming freshman at the Art Center College in Pasadena. Her name is Olivia. And Olivia, can you please go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Olivia. Thank you, Christian, for having me on
Mhm.
here. I guess I'm going to be an incoming freshman at Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, and I will be studying product or industrial design.
All right, it's awesome. Now, obviously, you mentioned that you're going to be studying, obviously product or industrial design. And in this specific major, it's actually specifically an art major. So I guess, first and foremost, what made you choose to go into that specific field?
Um, I think okay. So I actually had a bit of a struggle. I think everyone goes through when they're trying to figure out what they want to do when they grow up, or like what they want to do for the rest of their life. And so for me, I guess I always liked drawing, but wasn't sure whether I wanted to pursue it as a career or not, partially because of, I guess, the atmosphere where I came from, Arcadia High School. Most people went into more academic areas.
Mhm.
So I kind of felt, I guess, like a little bit subconsciously pressured to think about a more academic career choice.
Mhm.
But I had to keep asking myself these really hard questions like, what would I be happy doing? And when at the end of the day, I didn't want to go like a bureaucratic path or like a straightforward thing. I wanted to have fun. And so I decided to do something that could combine some of my interest with my love for art.
All right, it's awesome. And obviously, like you mentioned, I think everyone has a struggle in high school where we're trying to figure out our interests. And I think especially like you mentioned for you, going between arts and academics, that's a huge difference, obviously, because arts is, it's very generalized towards one thing and academics is obviously another path in itself. So I guess, when you were trying to figure out what to major in, did you ever consider anything else besides art, or did you like eventually say like, okay, I'm just gonna go full send with like art?
Yes, actually, it sounds kind of weird, but there's a period of time where I thought I was going to be a lawyer, and it's because Christian can attest to this. I was in his speech and debate period. That was fun, but
Yeah.
I really like um, not necessarily like talking or like it was more like solving problems. So for example, in debate, we would get resolutions and then we would have to think about a solution to that problem and try to convince others to follow it. So I actually like the solution part of that more than the talking part, but I thought that like the ways you can use to make an argument was very fun and I really like reading. So that's what drew me into law. But then as I was looking up more and more like things about becoming a lawyer. Okay, this is totally unrelated, but if you have a career path you would like, I would recommend you watch one of those like day in the life videos on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever watched those, Christian.
Yeah, I have plenty of
Yeah,
times.
yeah, exactly. So I watched a lot of the ones about like being a lawyer, and in my opinion, they were kind of boring because you can't watch the successful ones because those are like the 1%. So you have to watch like the regular,
Real
like day to day life, yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it just kind of was kind of boring. It was like mostly paperwork and like, I don't know, like litigation. And I was just like, I could probably like find ways to do what I like the problem solving approach I liked in law and apply it to art, which is why I went with art. Sorry, that was very
No, no, that was great. I mean, no, I definitely agree with you. When you mentioned the day in the life things, I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of stemmed away from pursuing a path of being like a medical doctor because I was like, nah, that I can't do this life. I can barely look at blood. There's no way I'm going to be able to be at like if I was doing surgical practices, that person's not going to live. So I was like, nah, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do that. But no, it was just interesting because obviously since I knew you from like speech and debate, you're one of the best debaters I knew in the team, and it was like, yeah, I was like, oh, she's gonna go into political science. And when I texted you, you told me you're going to art school. I was like, wow. I was like surprised that you were choosing that, but I was also like, that was actually pretty cool because not many students go to art school, and I think it's something that we should strive for people to look into because they don't think art is as sustainable as a career, or whatnot. And I think it's something really interesting that people should look into. Yeah, and then obviously, like you mentioned, there's a lot of skills you take from like speech and debate or other programs that can help you into art. So I think that's really cool to mention that just because you're in a specific extracurricular activity doesn't mean you have to go into that field in the future. I guarantee you, I never did any biology related extracurriculars in high school, and then I'm studying biology in college. So it's like, yeah, you don't have to do those specific things. So yeah, that's great. Um, I think now moving on, obviously there's a lot of art schools actually, surprisingly, throughout the United States. I know there's a lot in like the like New York, the East Coast, like Chicago, and then obviously we have some here in California. So I guess why did you choose the Art Center College in Pasadena?
Okay, I guess like there were a couple reasons, but mostly I think um you have to think about, I guess this is true for any college, but it's like you have to think about what you want out of college. Like there are some colleges that are more, I guess, give you more freedom to like for you to branch out and find find your interests. For example, I know a lot of people who actually do art at UCs
Mm,
because like even though the program might not be as prestigious as like an technical art school, they still want like the Greek life, I guess, like the
yep.
partying and like the like socializing. So that's like totally valid. So I guess it depends on what you want. For me, I chose Art Center because they were super technical, and I guess the entire point of Art Center is that there like there's no life except it's supposed to prepare you for a career. So more like a corporate level for, or like for a job. So because the thing is, I wanted to do art, but I didn't want to be like starving.
Yeah.
So yeah. So like there are a lot of art schools that are really good, like RISD, I don't know, in Rhode Island, or like a bunch of schools in New York that like are really fun, and they have like all this like great curriculum, and it's really good for art. But when I was thinking of like a career wise, Art
Mhm.
Center had more internships and more opportunities when I did my research, so that's why I picked it.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned that some people go to like UC schools or like other like, not really technical art schools just to get the other experiences. Going to art center, has that ever like worried you about like not being able to go out and like parties compared to like most college students? Because I feel like going to a technical art school, you don't get the same like quote unquote like freshman experience or like college experience that most kids have. So is that something that bothers you, or are you just kind of like not really the biggest issue for you?
Um, that actually like that actually kind of still bothers me. But
Mm,
like, um, I luckily I have a lot of friends like you, or like a lot of other friends going to UCLA, or other surrounding schools that I'm planning to leech off on from my college experience.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah. If COVID ends in sometime in the future, obviously not this semester, but maybe next year. Text me when the tailgates come. I'll
Let's
let
go.
you know.
Let's go.
I'll let you know. I'm gonna invite you. Yeah.
No,
No,
you.
I think yeah. And I think especially like even if you go to a technical art school, there's still other ways to have fun. It's just like you may have to put a little bit more effort, like you said, leech
Definitely.
off of your friend. But for the most part, yeah, it is still definitely doable to do. Yeah. So I guess now let's take a step back. Let's go back to a year ago when you were beginning your senior year of high school, and obviously the college application process. So I think a lot of students don't really realize this, but when you're applying to an art school, you have like a portfolio to submit to, and the application process for an art student is a lot different than the application process for a student going, like you said, to regular academics. So I guess just first and foremost, how would you summarize your entire college application process?
Okay. For myself, or what I would recommend people do.
You can do both. Like I guess talk about yourself first, and then if you have any recommendations
Okay,
after.
okay, okay, that's cool, that's cool. So I guess like the main thing is to look at like make a list of all the colleges you want to apply to, and especially for art schools, because for academic schools it's more like GPA, extracurriculars, essays, and a lot of those things you've already done. For example, like your SAT you need to do for all your colleges. But for art school, a lot of them have specific requirements, especially when applying to specific majors. For example, Art Center is unique in the fact that you have to have a specific portfolio for each major. So there's no like generic portfolio, whereas other art schools usually they have you submit like 10 to 14 works of whatever,
Oh wow.
then you choose your major afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's why I would recommend looking into other schools too. And a fun fact is that Art Center was actually the only school I applied to besides community college, in case I did not get in.
Really?
Yeah. So it
Oh.
was like all or nothing. And the reason was
Oh.
because
Yeah.
Art Center has art like I said, Art Center's portfolio varies on the major. So the portfolio they had me do was different than the ones other schools had. So
Okay.
since Art Center was my first choice, I was like, I'd rather bank all my stakes on it and like try my best than like spread out my chances.
So just full send on Art Center.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know what I've done if I did get in, but luckily, luckily I did.
All right, all right.
Yeah, yeah, so most schools, like most art schools, it's like I guess like 10 to 14 different works. And yeah, once again, I'll check with the art school in advance. And so I checked with Art Center. For Art Center for product design, it was I think 3 to 5 projects. And
Hmm.
then they had to be like full on like finished pieces, and it was like you have to do your ideation process. For example, you'd make a product and show them how you got to that product all the way up to like the final rendering and how you would I guess market it or whatever. And
Okay.
yeah, so I started mine kind of I started my portfolio kind of late. I guess usually like it's recommended you start at least like 1 year in advance.
Mm,
I started it half a year
okay.
in advance, which is still okay, I guess, because like I guess for my project, it doesn't require as many pieces as other art schools,
Mhm.
and I procrastinated a lot, which is very bad. Don't do that because it's very hard procrastinating on art. And then I like um oh, Annabelle can tell you about this, but I like rushed all my essays in the week leading up to the day it was due.
Ah, there it is, the typical
I didn't even start. Okay, it was bad.
it happens. I mean, I would say that you're not the only one who's done it. I've definitely done something like that too. People have definitely rushed essays. Yeah. No, I mean, I would say that like I think obviously even if you can rush the essays and get lucky. Don't get me wrong. Like obviously it's not the best idea, but it is doable. But
Yeah.
with like a portfolio, I would say yeah. Obviously, even 6 months before you submit it, I would say yeah, that's still a good enough time for you to get work done. But doing an art portfolio when you're doing it like a week before, nah, I would argue it's impossible.
Yeah, it actually is.
There's no way you're submitting that many works within like a
Yeah.
week. If you start the day before, I just give up on it honestly. Like you have to start that thing pretty early. Yeah. And I think obviously, when you're explaining all these different like requirements and whatnot, you seem pretty knowledgeable about it. So obviously, researching for college applications is a huge thing in itself, and a lot of people have different ways of doing it. Some people are lucky enough to have a school that provides them resources. Some people have like friends, upperclassmen, or some people just simply use the internet. So I guess for you, what was your best way of getting information, especially knowing that we come from a school that wasn't very art focused compared to maybe some other school districts?
That's a really good question. I would say the college website is the most important thing, especially for art schools, because that's where all their individual requirements are and their updated requirements. For example, I know some schools, I'm gonna use RISD as another example. Every year they have like a prompt that changes because they want you to do a piece based off that prompt. So then you would have to create a totally new piece with that prompt in mind. And so that would be the first resource. The second one is there are these things called portfolio review days, and they're usually held, I don't know how many times a year, but it's like in Los Angeles at least they're held like a good number of times. And so a lot of representatives from art schools actually set up tables in this like large room area, and you take your portfolio and you go around the room and ask people like, can you look at my art or like give me advice, and then the college admissions officers can tell you like what you need to do to improve. And I think that was
Okay.
really helpful for me. um a third resource is that our art art classes, or like I guess like portfolio boot camps,
Mhm.
which I wouldn't really recommend a lot of them, but for art schools, most of them are like private schools, so they already cost a lot of money. But
Yeah.
um, there's this business like where art classes tailor a certain like portfolio class
Mhm.
where a lot of people applying to art schools all just get in a room and like work on their portfolio at the same time, and there's like this one teacher overseeing everything and they can ask
Oh, okay.
advice. And I guess like those are helpful, except in my opinion, I don't know, I've never done one of them, but I know they're insanely expensive.
Yeah.
And um like I'm pretty sure you could get the same thing by looking up pictures on the internet of accepted portfolios. Oh, that's actually something I forgot to mention. It's really useful for you to search up like blah 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 college accepted portfolio examples.
Mhm.
And like people like show images of how they got into school or how they got rejected, and those are really good.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I would agree. I mean, I would say it's similar to like college essays. Like people search up like sample college essays of
oh
students.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I would say for portfolio, obviously it's a little bit more extreme. Obviously you can't mimic creativity as much as you can maybe mimic an essay. So, but yeah, I would say like at least you can find inspiration or at least have a general sense of what it's
Yeah.
like. So that way when you do it, then it does make sense to you, and then obviously you just chug things out. And yeah, I would agree that obviously there are a lot of classes like you mentioned, like those workshops that you can work and obviously get someone to like kind of look over and oversee it. But yeah, I mean, cost is a big thing, and obviously if you're a student who's maybe not so fortunate in terms of financial capabilities, obviously, just use other resources. Like the internet is a huge one. Obviously, like you mentioned, college websites. I would say if you're in art, going to art school or not going to art school, just looking at the college website is important because you can see what majors and programs they have. Yeah, I think that's great.
Can I
And I
ask
think,
you? Sorry,
yeah, yeah, so go ahead, go ahead.
I totally forgot. If you're fortunate enough to live near the college you're going to, or you're going on a college visit, schedule a meeting with the admissions officer, and they can
Mm,
look over your portfolio for like free and give you advice. And
mm,
even if they don't give you like their advice is like negative feedback, it shows the college that you're dedicated enough to want to schedule a portfolio review, and it can actually help you because that's what I did for Art Center, and I think that helped me a lot.
Yeah, and I would even say even if the feedback is kind of negative, at least it tells you like, okay, so I
Yeah.
clearly didn't do something right. So just go to the back to the drawing board and start
Mhm.
out. But no, I would say like regardless, you're gonna get some form of information, either validation that you're kind of set or like saying like, oh, here's where you need improvement. So I think either way, you're still gonna get some benefit of talking to them, and obviously you get to like network and like understand more about the college. So I think that's great. Yeah. I think just to wrap up the college application aspect now, um, if you could redo the entire system or the entire process, what would you have changed if you would have changed anything at all?
Read to, wait, like,
Like if you could have gone back, like go back in time and had to go over the entire process again, would you have done anything differently?
oh, okay. I thought you meant like overhaul the college system myself.
Oh no, not the college system itself. I mean, if you want to talk about that, sure, go ahead. But I mean, just like your specific application process.
Okay, okay, that's cool. Mm, I oh I guess because if you're working on your portfolio by yourself and you don't have a class, since like it's not like a school thing where all you have to do is keep your GPA up by doing your classes, you have to be really self-motivated outside of school. So for example, you would have to get all your homework done and then work on your portfolio, and then I guess keep yourself on task by making sure like you have a good schedule. So I think um I guess I would have started earlier and not procrastinated, because I guess like when you start a really big project in the beginning, it's like, wow, it looks like I have so much time. I have like 6 months, and then you keep on saying that, oh god, I have 3 months, and then it's like, oh shoot, I only have 1 month.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I would agree. I mean, obviously, it is kind of an advice that everyone's been repeating, but there's a reason why everyone's saying this because we've been through the mistakes. Don't make the same mistakes we did
Yeah.
of cramming everything in the last minute because it is not fun. And even though we could argue that, hey, yeah, we turned out okay, uh, in the moment we probably didn't, and we probably could have done a lot better than we ended up being. But obviously, I don't think I have any real regrets. But yeah, definitely start early. It is so necessary, especially if you're going to art school. You're gonna need to have all the time that you can.
Is there time for me to say an example, or it's
Yeah,
fine?
no, you have plenty of time. Go ahead.
Okay, let's go, let's go. Okay, so this was really bad, but for Art Center, we had to do, in addition to our portfolio, we had to submit like a video essay. It's not like an essay, but we had to spend like 2 minutes explaining our project to to the camera. But then after I submitted my portfolio, it was like it was on the day it was due, so it was like at 1 a.m. Afterwards, I was like, I want to try to get this like done done because I don't want to go back to sleep and have to film it again. So
Yeah.
then I, I was like trying to film it, but then I was like so tired and I was like stumbling over my words, and then I was sit and then I took like 50 takes, but it was
Oh,
still really bad. And then I sent it to my friends, and then I was like, please tell me this is good. And they're like, this is so bad. Why are you stumbling all the time? And then in the end, I was just like, screw it, I'm gonna send it. And then it was like the worst video I've ever recorded, but like, you know what? Just start early. Don't procrastinate. That's what I
uh,
would say.
no, I feel you. I mean, especially since a lot of colleges are relaxing on those like test requirements now, like they're finding alternatives. I know Chicago, for example, when they made the test optional, they said, "Oh, send in a video requirement." I've had to send video requirements for. I didn't apply to Chicago, but like other things I applied for, I had to send videos, and oh my God, yeah, trust me, it is. It
But
is a
yeah,
pain.
because like usually you'll think like, oh, a video is so easy. I could just get it done in like
Mhm.
I
Right?
2 minutes, and then
It's ironic because we're in speech and debate. We can talk in front of the crowd, but in front of a camera where there's no one watching us, we're just like,
wait,
well, I
yeah,
don't know what
like
to do.
talking to freaking camera, it's horrible.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel it. I think that was great, especially for those of you who have to do those videos. Um, you're not gonna get it done in one take. Just believe. Unless you're like some natural vlogger, you're not gonna get it done in one take. All right, awesome. So I think Olivia, another thing I want to talk about is obviously something that's I guess a little bit more of kind of a topic that not many students want to address because it is something that is there, but it's just something that obviously we don't want to mention because it is kind of painful in a sense that talking about like competition among students. And I think especially in your situation, um, growing up as an Asian American, it's not common to see someone in the Asian American community going into arts. Most of the time, like the stereotypes of having to go be a doctor, lawyer, engineer it is there. Like let's be real, it's not something that we're gonna say, oh, it's racist. No, like it is there. Like growing up in those families and seeing my friends go over it, I can say that yeah, it is something that's definitely true. You know, growing up in Asian American community and obviously having those kind of pressures to possibly go into some academic field. Did it ever concern you that you were going into arts rather than everyone else going into something else?
Um, yeah, it still concerns me, but luckily my parents have been really supportive. I
Mhm.
think if they were, because I was on the fence on it for a while because I'm kind of indecisive, but yeah, I think it was my parents that helped me finalize. Because if they weren't supportive, then I wouldn't have been able to, I guess, feel like I was doing the right thing for myself in a sense. And yeah, it's I think it's difficult because you see all your friends like talking about the things they're doing or like
Mhm.
the I don't know, like the colleges they got into, and it's like really good for them, but you also feel inside it's like, did I not apply because like I don't know, like because I'm not smart enough, or like I'm like taking the easy way out. I don't know. That's like a doubt I deal with, but also I'm like thankful for the opportunities I have now and the fact that I guess my family is more open than other people, but I would say that if your parents aren't up for it, but you really want to do it, you should still go for it because it's your life and you don't want to like live someone else's.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think the one thing I always tell students when they're applying to college or like when they're asking, oh, what should I major in? I always tell them just straight up like, do what you're interested in, like, do what you're passionate about. Because like you mentioned earlier, you could have gone into political science or like law because, you obviously speech and debate on a lot of those activities in high school. And yeah, even though you would have been good at it, obviously in your opinion, you thought it would have been a very boring lifestyle. I don't know, like, people say like, oh, but it makes money. Like, yeah, but you want to be enjoying it and making money at the same time, not just
Yeah, exactly.
so it's just like, doing something for the sake of, oh, it's gonna make me money. I don't think is enjoyable. And people are like, oh, but this major has better job sustainability than another. And like, yes, that is true, but if you don't enjoy it, you're not gonna put the effort out to actually find internships, find jobs, like engage yourself in it. Whereas, if you take a major that's like quote unquote not as popular or not as seen like as highly regarded compared to most, you could still excel in that field, if not better than the kid who probably took the other major because you were actually interested in it, you engaged in activities, internships, work experience. So yeah, I would just say obviously it's just unfortunate that right now the current like I guess rhetoric is obviously focused towards like getting Asian American students or just I mean most students in general closer to like academic STEM or whatnot. But I think that, art schools and like kind of other typical like liberal arts humanities majors aren't as like highly regarded. But I think obviously that should change. Like I think every major, every field is kind of important. So yeah, no, I definitely appreciate you touching up on that. And I guess just kind of to wrap up the entire video, if you could give advice to high school students, whether that be about the college application process, um, or I guess just life in general, what would you tell them?
Oh man, hitting me with the hard ones. Okay, before I give my advice, I'd like to recommend a book. Um,
Mhm.
a friend actually recommended it to me, and I thought it was really insightful. It's called Excellent Sheep. I don't know if you've heard of it,
Okay.
but it talks about how I guess the main premise of the book is that the education system is flawed because it pushes kids to be like a certain way or to study a certain thing, even though they might not necessarily want themselves. So their entire life, they just follow this one course that's kind of predetermined for them, or like they have the illusion of choice, but like it's under the guise of like, oh, I need to make money or something. So by the time they're like 20 or 30, that's why like the midlife crisis hits because then they start thinking like, oh wait, I none of this stuff like I actually asked myself if I actually wanted to do, and it was more like for someone else.
Just to quickly check, the book is Excellent Sheep by like William Der. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, so I'm assuming
You find it.
I will put it in the description as well too. Um,
Yeah, William Deresiewicz.
I'm not gonna butcher his last name. Ignore the fact that we try to pronounce his last name, but it is a good book and it has some pretty good ratings. So yeah, I'll definitely link it into the description. Yeah, but
Thank you.
and obviously, I mean, I guess, did you have any other advice, or I guess did you want to conclude on that?
Um, I okay, shoot, you're making me. I'm like, okay, like the thing coming to my mind is like those cliche like things. It's like do what makes you happy or like whatever. But I think that's true, and um, I guess it's always good to remember that you only cliche, but you only get to live once, and it's like your life, and no one in the end, like no one cares about what happens to you except yourself. And like, I guess we could all die the next day. You know, we could all get COVID, or there could be a nuclear war, or something like that. And so you want to go down, I guess, doing at least the thing you wanted to do, not that someone else wanted for you.
And he took something super insightful and just jacked it up to 11 real quick. He just took just took a huge 180 on there. No, no, but I know. I mean, you know, as much as dark as that probably was, it is true. You know, like there's no we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed what's gonna happen in the future. So it's like, screw it. Like, just do what you're gonna enjoy. Because in the end, obviously this is a whole existentialism topic in itself. But the point is you know, do what makes you happy. You're gonna succeed and do well if you do the things that you obviously enjoy. And obviously, we want to thank you, Olivia, for coming out and taking the time to speak with us. I guess, you know, first and foremost, congratulations, obviously, on graduating. Obviously, I know COVID, it didn't end the way it was hopefully you wanted to end, but obviously, congratulations on graduating and congratulations on your acceptance to the Art Center School. I obviously know you're going to do great things at school. And then obviously for everyone watching this video, I hope that you get a lot of information from Olivia, especially for those interested in art school. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Christian, for having me. You're
Mhm.
great.